rightly said, macroprocessor engineering, I got hooked onto it because of something which is known as ZX Spectrum, which was this small computer that I got to play when I was in 10th standard at Mumbai, and my cousin had it way back then. And then I got myself hooked on to electronics because of that, because I was kind of happy with the machine and whatever it was doing, and it was helping me to play games. This is a fanboy moment for me. Thank you, Surat. Thank you very much. I have Harish Bhai with me here. As he rightly said, he does not need any introduction at all. A luminary, a giant. We already had one luminary here before us, and now I'm actually sitting before a luminary. In fact, I would like to term, and don't take me otherwise, Bhishma Pitama of the IT industry. That is what I feel, because when I was taking my baby steps, here was Harish Bhai, very well known. In 1990, probably the first diskless computer was introduced by government of India, and you were there. I distinctly remember that program. And I was one of the spectators sitting at the end. And here I am sitting right before you right now on this dais, talking to you. I'm so thankful to you. I am thankful to, in fact, I'm here because of the chairmanship that I have of Gujarat Electronic and Software Industry Association in its association with TiE. Besides that, I'm also the co-founder and chairman of Dev IT. I represent my company here. We started in 1997, and this is the 25th year of our company. In this journey of our company also, in one way or the other, probably in the mid of our journey, my colleague Jaimin, co-founder colleague Jaimin Shah, and he was introduced, thanks to NASSCOM, to Harish Bhai, and the nurturing that he got from you was passed on to us also. So company Dev IT, whatever it is of the second decade, was thanks to you and many others of NASSCOM. Thank you very much. I'm taking this opportunity for that. Harish Bhai, તમે ગુજરાતી છો, સૌજી ભાઈ પણ ગુજરાતી ભાષાની, એમણે કીધું કે હું હિન્દીમાં બોલું છું, પણ મને ગુજરાતીમાં થોડું બોલવું છે, કારણ કે હરીશભાઈ ને હું અમે બંને જણા ગુજરાતી લિટરેચર, ગુજરાતી ભાષા માટે મહાન અનુભવીએ છીએ. એના વિશે થોડી વાત કરવા માગીએ છીએ. સંસ્કાર તો પારણામાંથી. That is something which is very much imbibed in the book also. અને I would request હરીશભાઈ કે તમે એના વિશે એટલા માટે બોલો, કારણ કે એ જે સંસ્કાર છે, એ જ સંસ્કાર ક્યાંક ને ક્યાંક તમને બિઝનેસમાં આગળ લઈ ગયા છે, તમને નાસ્કોમ બાબતે વિચાર કરવા પ્રેરણા આપી છે. I would like to basically convey to the people here that thinking in mother tongue, knowing about mother tongue, reading in mother tongue actually helps you to come up with candid thoughts. મૌલિક વિચારો તમારામાંથી બહાર આવે છે. So on that pretext and on that context, I would like you to request, rather I would request you to speak on the values that you got from the Parana, and which we in fact saw today while she was reading the book. That is exactly what we saw today. So kindly do so. And then we'll proceed ahead with the other part of the chat. It is very much imbibed in the book also, very clearly.
In my book, can you, hello?
I think we need to bring it a little, yeah.
Let me tell a story here. When my dad was in film business, so he was very well connected with the producers, distributors, stars, and whatnot. So when my sister got married, large number of stars had attended the wedding. And I'm going back in the 60s, late 60s. So at night, my dad asked all of the 5 brothers and sisters, okay, who was the most important person who came for the wedding? So someone said Sadhna as a actress, someone said Vajanti Mala, someone said some producer's name, director's names. And then my sister asked him, but Dad, according to you, who was the most important person? So he gave the name Uma Shankar Joshi. Now, frankly, none of us had even noticed that Uma Shankar Bai had come to our wedding, my sister's wedding, and he had gone. Then I realized who he was. Short, wearing simple white clothes. And then who is Uma Shankar Joshi? Then you start study about him.
Giant of a man.
Amazing. I mean, so that's how you can say Parnama Sanskar Madam. Okay, you get attached to that. And then same Uma Shankar Joshi I started studying. And his poem I've introduced in my book also is called Bhomya Vina. Bhomya Vina means without the guide. I don't know how many of you know that particular poem. You know, okay. Okay, Bhomya Vina mare bambata dungara. Jungle ni kunja kunja jovi hati, joviti kotaro ne joviti kandara.
Kandara.
Mara jarna ni aakho lavi hati. So that's the story of my life also, from that poetry. Okay, you want to be an independent mind. Sorry. Okay. When you go and let's say visit a forest, you normally will have a guide to help you to go around. Uma Shankar Bai says, no, I want to see the forest in my own way. I don't want any guide. Bhomya means guide. I want to go around and enjoy the mountains, enjoy the forest, enjoy the streams on my own way. So develop your own independent mind or eye to enjoy it, not by just constantly guide saying you. So that's my story of my life also. There's so many pivots have taken place in the life, not by design, not by any, it just happened, circumstances came together, and maybe you ended up taking the right choice, whether it's forming NASSCOM or bringing TiE to India or starting onward, whatever it is. Okay.
So when he said, if you read the book, in fact, in the book also there is a reference to this poem, and categorically you will relate to Bhomya Vina as a concept when he was actually Bhomya Vina in US in his formative years. And that's where the thoughts of NASSCOM actually germinated. So, Harish bhai, taking cue from there, just like you, Mahatma Gandhi had those classic moments and at Africa and the change was there. I'm sure those kind of moments or a story would have been there in USA, which kind of prompted you towards thinking about something of a catalyst like NASSCOM, which it is for the IT industry today. How about talking on that line? In fact, how about sharing those thoughts of yours with us and how NASSCOM came into the picture?
Frankly, I don't have any such single moment as such, but basically formation of NASSCOM was a cumulative effect of number of things that happened over the previous 10 years, which gave birth to NASSCOM. I mean, since my granddaughter talked about the floppy drive incident, but software was not defined anywhere. Each government department had a different meaning behind software. Software is an intangible. All the hardware rules of the game or in the industry were applied to intangible software. Now, so let's say even say income tax department, for example, software was not defined. So your marketing expense was disallowed by the officer saying, what are you trying to export? Why did you go abroad? It must be a vacation. What did you sell? So they didn't understand.
Correct.
Like Reserve Bank of India, I go on a tour from Bombay to London to Boston, New York and back. And it just happens that your marketing needs are different. You change your itinerary. When you come back and you have to file a report to Reserve Bank, within 1 week, they will summon you to come and appear in person as if you are guilty. And they'll ask hundreds of questions. Why did you change your itinerary on the way? What did you do? So every dollar in those days was so critical. So you were treated like they didn't understand what software was, so they didn't know what we were doing when we were, let's say, doing marketing. And on top of it, I'm coming to why we formed NASSCOM.
Correct.
And you can say the country was focused on hardware. computer hardware industry. That was a new age industry in those days. Then we had, basically the policy was driven by scientists and I would say bureaucrats, scientific bureaucrats. They were the technology gatekeepers of India. They will decide what will come to India and what we will make, what we will X, Y, and Z. So all of them were literally focused on India to focus on software product business, not on software services. Software services meant, we can say, techno coolies, cyber coolies, washing the diapers of your customers. So that software services business was classified in that category. Very low, and India should not get into. Now, those of us who were in software services business, almost every one of us had experimented the software product business, and we all had failed. And then we realized that 10 factors have to come together for India to succeed in software product. So we need to focus on software services business. Now that was very difficult to convince the bureaucrats to come up with the policies to solve the software services problem. And that's where we said, and I've written in my book, number of other things where I learned the power of an association. And I said, we need to figure out, and we had counted some 125 regulations was strangulating the technology business for us. And so if we need to do something about it, see, on the other hand, there was a global outsourcing market size was $300 billion. What was accessible to us, which was only on-site or body shopping, as we call it.
Correct.
And that was about $5 to $10 billion. There was no communication pipe. So now, how do you export? You couldn't import a state-of-the-art computers, hardware, software, applications, databases. So how do you develop applications on the current applications? So you end up doing the low-end work of the old applications, data conversions to whatnot and whatnot. So under that environment, if we knew that if you have a pipe available, our 10 billion potential can become 50 billion straight away. But now who is going to lay the cable connecting Singapore to Chennai to Mumbai to Dubai? Who is going to lay the underground cable? I'm going back to the days where there were no dollars. India was bankrupt on foreign exchange. The telecom minister, when you ask him, okay, we need this pipe for a bandwidth, his question would be, a bandwidth kya cheez hai? So under that environment, we realized if we can solve these issues, there is a potential for this business to grow. And that's how the NASSCOM was formed.
Got it, Harish bhai. Thank you so much. Because of the book, I'm also quite well aware about it, but you're saying it will be infusing people to go for the book again. And I'm sincerely requesting all of you, please try to see to it that at least one chapter a day, and I'm sure you will slowly be getting imbibed and you'll be getting immersed into the book. Harish bhai, the word maverick, why the word maverick? And what values does it espouse in NASSCOM?
Okay. To IT industry delivered 30% compounded growth over 30 years. Now, how did that magic happen? I believe very strongly it happened because of not NASSCOM, but the values that NASSCOM imbibed and values that imbibed by although you can say, co-founders and the CEOs of services industry. Now, let me explain. When we started NASSCOM, we took few hard decisions. We will not bribe, in spite of 150 regulations, any bureaucrat for a policy change. We will build NASSCOM as an independent, neutral, transparent platform. Because we had studied CII, FICCI, IMC, Rotary, Lions, all those associations before forming or writing the constitution of NASSCOM. So we'll learn do's and don'ts of those associations, and we say, who are we, where we are going, and what do we need? So then we decided our platform cannot be abused by anybody. Be a large company, be a multinational, be a celebrity company, X, Y, and Z. There has to be a level playing field that this platform should provide. Now, in order for that platform to provide that, you need to follow certain values. So like one simple thing we decided was that anybody who gives a presentation at NASSCOM platform they will not be able to use their company brand name. Now, most of the work was done by the company. So they said, at least give us some credit putting my logo on it. And we said, sorry. We want to build this trust amongst each other. We want to have this independent platform where a lot of creative thinking can happen. And that's how we would like to build our model. To give you one success story here, PMO took a delegation to Russia. There was a pharma association, there was a software association. Som Mittal was the president of NASSCOM at that time. And so naturally, Som would give presentation to Russian crowd. That's like something like 300-400 CEOs were present. Som looked around and he said, Harish Manglik is here. Harish was at that time chairman of NASSCOM as well as chairman of Accenture India. So Harish, why don't you give a presentation? Harish looked around and he saw N. Chandra, currently the chairman of Tata Sons, who was the CEO of TCS. And TCS being the largest company, so Harish said, let Chandra give presentation. So they approached Chandra. Would you give presentation? Chandra said, of course I will. But then there was one caveat. What is it? There are 4 case studies of your competitors. Would you talk about that? Without blinking, Chandra said, of course I will. I'm speaking on behalf of India. So that spirit that was maintained, it came out of NASSCOM being an independent platform where all the players trusted each other in a sense that our India first has to be our fundamental objective, goal. And whenever we err, we look at India first as a benchmark to compare with and then take the decision. I'll give another story here that one of the value you talked about NASSCOM, why NASSCOM could contribute. So one was this platform, but on top of it, we brought all competing CEOs together under one platform. To work, they all work as a collaborative, as a team. Whenever the discussion takes place, they will keep India first, no personal agenda, be consensus driven, have a single voice, and we would let the creative juices flow to solve some of the toughest industry problems. To tell you a story here, and that, I would say, collaborative working together of competitors is the major differentiator. And I'll tell a story here again, that multinationals were not allowed to come to India to own 100% ownership. They could only own 60%, sorry, 40%. So, and our industry was doing whatever work we were all doing for our customers. Customers are very happy. So they said, why don't you allow us to come to India to set up 100% own back office operation? So now 100% back office operation to be set up because it's a confidential work. So at NASSCOM, we all sat together and we discussed, should we allow them to come in? The natural instinct for an Indian businessman in those days was protection.
Correct.
Oh, this is, why should we allow? I mean, simplest thing would have been a very easy decision to be taken. But we didn't. We were scared, frankly, that if we allow them to come, they'll take away our people by paying twice the salary. We were scared that the business which we are doing with them may get shifted under the garb of back office and they start doing on their own. Correct. So we would be left holding the bag. But because we allowed that creative, you can say we had sort of created a trustworthy environment and we allowed the creative juices to flow, we also analyzed the plus side of it, that if we allow them to come in, and we didn't have really, I'm talking early 90s, real quality processes, infrastructure practices. We have completely homegrown techniques. Whatever we learned in USA when we worked, we're trying to implement in our own companies. So we wanted to learn all that also. Plus we realized that $10 billion accessible out of 300 can grow to 50 to 60 if we build India Inc. brand with these customers. So it was in some sense, you can say, enlightened self-interest. It was not philanthropic or altruistic. So we said this makes a huge sense to allow these multinationals to come to India. And in that conversation, somebody said, they will develop human capital of India. So what does it mean? Then we started analyzing it. We saw whoever develops, and we came up with that tagline, okay, whoever develops human capital of India is us. Who doesn't, even an Indian company is not us. And so that definition of who is us, where we allowed our fiercely competing companies to come together and take that, because then we approached Dr. Manmohan Singh to bring in that change to 100%. But before making that change, we talked to Mr. Kohli. Kohli Saab, are you agreeing? Murthy, are you agreeing? Azim, are you agreeing? Because everybody, we had to be together on that decision. And it'll be
inclusive. It was inclusive.
and surprisingly, everyone agreed. Then we approached Dr. Manmohan Singh. So when we approached them, the secretary or some government bureaucrats, first thing, वापस देश को बेचने आ गए तुम किसके दलाल हो ईस्ट इंडिया के वापस तुम उसको वापस एंट्री दे रहे हो बैकडोर एंट्री कर रहे हो all kinds of so we were literally ready with our data facts analysis white papers whatever you call it and he agreed to allow 100% ownership of the MNCs to come to India. That single decision today has 1,800 R&D centers in India employing 1.2 million software engineers doing. Some of them are doing now, they're representing on the board of their parent companies, co-creating future for their parent companies. Phenomenal growth and the contribution to India. And not only to India, I would say globally, because transforming businesses of foreign this multinational also is a huge value add. So that is the power of collaborate and compete, okay, that you take the decision, hard decision, try to go for the best possible solution. And that's what happened. And I'll do another story right after that is China wanted to, seeing our success, wanted to replicate our success in the tech services business. So they appointed foresters to come up with a master plan. Now, John McCarthy, who was the CEO of foresters at that time, he told us the story that he advised Chinese government that you cannot compete with India till you create NASSCOM equivalent association. He said, I have not seen anywhere in the world, IBM, Accenture, Capgemini, TCS, Wipro, Infosys, all sitting together around a table, keeping no personal agenda, keeping India first, solving industry issues. And by that time, we had a great, I'll talk about that also, maybe I'll continue probably. Okay, we had built a trust with the policymakers. And unless you come up with that combination of those factors, you wouldn't be able to compete. So, and of course, so that is the power of that collaborate and compete, keeping no personal agenda and whatnot. But it's a unique value that NASSCOM brought in, which allowed industry to grow at this rate. Then, of course, there are many other things like STPI scheme and what the communication pipes were laid, which allowed thousands of companies to take birth. So that's the way, even partly prompted me to write the book because that story was not told before. Because everyone thought that it was by accident, by luck, India changed. And I believe very strongly, no, India didn't change. It was not an accident. It was not luck. It is the work of millions of engineers who worked day in, day out, 4 years that built the India Inc. brand.
But in that sense, NASSCOM was the catalyst, and I think all of you should, as a kudos, we should clap to NASSCOM's story, because it is India's story. Thank you, Harish bhai. NASSCOM had a rock band status thanks to the rock star Devang Mehta, another Gujarati. And we used to, in fact, he was there in the young days of ours, and we used to call him Elvis Presley because of his hairdo. And well, he acted like a rock star. And you've got a dedicated chapter here. And when I think of Devang, it's like, I've written a note here for him that it's like I recollect a statement which says, we are playing hard here, so let's give our best. While we may fall on our faces, but if we do, we will fall with dignity and guitar in our hand. I think I had read it as it was a rock star movie somewhere in 2003, and that's where this line was spoken. It struck there. And Devang, it matches Devang's persona overall. So your thought about Mr. Devang Mehta vis-a-vis this line which I just spoke, and the famous fable story of Manchaben and the war cry. And in our days, it was a war cry of roti, kapra, makan, or bandwidth. So today, bandwidth is not a question here. People for using a data is just a flick of a switch here or pressing a button here. But during those good old days, it was a hell of a problem for us. So you may correlate that entire saga or the story with them and for their own benefit. And I'm sure that will also be beneficial to the young guns here, that all the odds being faced by us, the then time, can be addressed the way in which Devang and you all addressed.
I'll talk about one of the issues that industry faced and the role Devang played in it. See, in India, we believe, I'm going back to early 90s, maybe it is true partly today also. In India, we believe in right to copy, not in copyright. You agree? I mean, movies to music to whatever, we pirate as if it's a birthright. But in the 90s, when we used to meet a prospect in USA or UK, he would look at us as a thief. I mean, so if I part my data and programs to you to do some application work, next day you will go and sell it in the market and sell it to my competitor or whatnot. So it was very humiliating to us when they'll never openly say it, but you can read between the lines. So we all sat together and said, what do we do? How do we solve this problem? So okay, we need to build our India Inc. brand differently. So we looked at our Copyright Act, and we found that our Copyright Act was very weak. And as a result, I mean, our enforcement also was weak, and our judiciary also was weak, but this was the starting point. So we said this IP issue has to be sorted out. So why not we make our Copyright Act stringent? So we came up with all the changes that we needed, and Devang was master. He was sitting as if he is a lawyer, sitting on the government side and drafting the law. And we took the help of some of the best lawyers at that time. And we came up with, let's say, for 30, 40 changes to be done to the Copyright Act. So then we met the bureaucrats to start the dialogue rolling. So one bureaucrat says, where is our Kohinoor? Tower of London. Where is the jewelry of this king? Where is the Somnath jewelry? And they gave us examples after examples where world had looted us over the previous 1,000 years. So they said, now it's our time to loot the Western world. We must allow piracy of software. So now, now you are up against this mindset. Then say, look at Ramayana, look at Mahabharata. We give it free. We don't charge any royalty. If we had charged royalty for 0 Aryabhattas, India would have been the richest country in the world. So why should we change the Copyright Act? At that time, Devang, you'll be surprised, gave a presentation to every political party of India and convinced them why Copyright Act has to be strengthened. So when these modifications were suggested at the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, it sailed through. It would have been impossible, with our democratic system where each party just fights against each other for the sake of fighting instead of taking a national position. So here, he could convince all the political parties to take that position, and our Copyright Act became more, I would say, stricter than even in the UK. And that was another small step, you can say, in building India Inc. brand, creating confidence in the customer's mind. Okay, India is a place we can do our business
The
with.
global level. In your book, there is one very wise word. In fact, it is a very nice phrase. nature of nature. And it is there in the last para or the last chapter. And I want from you is this note of a wisdom or a advisory note from you for the next gen, because COVID is when everybody faced the trying times, not only from the business perspective, but from the human and the social perspective too. It also came up with lots of opportunity. So overall, this transformation and how the tenets of nature, how the small continuous stream of knowledge that Mother Nature keeps on throwing at us. And it's very much, very nicely written there in your book. Please throw some light on that. The nature of nature.
I mean, first of all, I don't give any advice, wisdom, and whatnot, because I believe 90% of what I know is obsolete for young generation.
No.
From that perspective. But I'm a strong believer in nature. I mean, we are hardly 5,000 years old as a human species. Nature has been there for billions of years and has learned, and you have seen thousands of animals, plants, you see every problem that we have today, nature has found a solution. That's my belief. So whenever I'm in, trouble, in terms of confused, I try to find an example from nature and try to imbibe that. Like simple thing like building a trusted environment.
Correct.
Now, I'll tell you a story here. When we started NASSCOM, bureaucrats didn't trust the business people. Complete, total lack of major trust deficit between all businesses and the bureaucrats and policymakers. They were still suffering from the colonial mindset. Now, so when we started NASSCOM, we said, how do we gain the trust of these policymakers? So first decision we took was open up every meeting, any policymaker, any bureaucrat from any government department can come and attend without invitation. They were shocked. We said, we can attend your meetings. We said, not only attend our meetings, we'll take you to our offices, we'll show you what we are doing. Then you will understand the kind of problems, the intangible as a software he's having. So that was the starting point of building trust between the bureaucrats and us. Now, then and one of the things also at NASSCOM we had decided was, we will not form NASSCOM till we represent 80% of the top line of the industry. Everyone had agreed to form NASSCOM except Mr. Kohli of TCS. In those days, TCS with Tata Burroughs had 70% market share of total market. So we said, without TCS, who are we? We'll be just a small local association with no national impact. So we said we will not form NASSCOM till Mr. Kohli joins. It took us 6 months to convince him to join, and he joined. After he joined, then we said, had a real strength as an association that yes, now we will represent a single voice for the industry. Because in other associations, there will be multiple voices, or even if the association gives a presentation to the government, another group after 24 hours will go and say, oh, I don't agree with that. So we wanted to wash our dirty linen inside, not outside in public. So when Mr. Vittal came in as a DOE secretary, we wanted software export benefit. All other industries were given, but because we were services and low-end business, probably we were not given that benefit. So we wanted that export benefit to our industry. We felt our industry needs the maximum, because you as a young entrepreneur, if you were to set up an office in New York or anywhere, from where will you get the money? Banks will not give you money. So whatever money you earn in business, you would like to plow back. But if government takes away 30, 40% out of that, so it definitely hurts not only your company, but the country also. So we want that benefit. They gave it to manufacturers, but not to us. So we wanted that benefit. So Mr. Vittal understood our problem. And he came back after a month or two saying, I had a conversation with our finance secretary, Mr. Jalan. He has agreed to give the export benefit. However, you have to do $400 million by the end of the year. Now, we were at $150 million. So we sat together, looked at the numbers. We couldn't do more than 200. So, and I was the chairperson of NASSCOM at that time. So I went back to Mr. Vittal. So Vittal said, we can't do. Maximum we can do is 200. Then he said, you don't want the benefit. I said, we want the benefit, but we don't want to lie. We don't want to mislead you. Mr. Vittal gave us a report by MATE, which was another association, primarily hardware association. He said, here is MATE report, which says it can be done. Here is Engineering Software Export Promotion Council report. They said it can be done 400 million. Who are you to say no? Luckily, I had 80% top line with me of the software companies. As I say, these are the software companies who have signed up saying we can't do. Now, if you think they have some other magic formula to do software export for 400 million, by all means you do it. He realized the value of NASSCOM. He realized the trust. That started building trust between government, policymakers, and the association. He had not seen this kind of atmosphere or environment before. This, by the way, so I can trust them, I can depend on them. And then, of course, he took those 100 regulations and all that process started. And he became so friendly with us that he started calling NASSCOM differently. He said, N stands for nuts, A stands for asshole, S stands for stupid, the next S is for screwball, C for crazy, O for oddball, and M for mad, and I am the leader of this group. Can you believe the policymakers saying it, which is completely a no-no in those days of the political environment and the bureaucratic environment. But we earned that trust. And that's what probably the schemes like STPI took, but many other changes came in at that point. Like anyway, we don't have much time, but I can go into it. How we built and how that continued, accelerated the growth of the industry.
It says thank you, but we can still take one point.
Oh, I see.
The time says thank you to us, but just the last. The succession planning is always a point that everybody has it in its mind, the entrepreneurs, the people who own a company. And you very nicely laid out the way in which succession planning happened from Devang to Mr. Karnik. Both of them were having a contrasting persona. One was a rock star in full blast way, and the other was a very focused, subdued, clear-headed gentleman, soft word, but very firm in his own resolve. How did this planning happen, and what was being thought as the key person of NASSCOM?
I'll tell you my version, which is written in my book also. I had a joint venture with Onward Novel, and Novel had a very structured process for recruiting people. So when Devang, frankly, we didn't have a succession plan when Devang passed away. It came out of a blue. He was hardly 39 when he passed away. We never expected that that would happen. So when it happened, we all sat together, and I pulled out the entire, the process of recruiting a senior person. The first point was define your vision. So at that time, we redefined our vision for NASSCOM from where we were 10 years back, which was defined, and now say we're looking at next 10 years, where NASSCOM would like to go. And then from there, we drew up skills, attributes, whatever is required. And then we looked at Devang's personality. And Devang was much, the real, in public eye, he was 10 times, 20 times larger image. He was unbelievable, the kind of contribution. He was always in the limelight. And in the process, certain things which he did, which you also didn't like, and I documented those stories in the book also, that when somebody is bigger than life, it can do huge damage also. So we decided we want a personality which is the opposite of Devang. And so we wrote down those criteria also, what kind of person we are looking at. Then we appointed Korn Ferry as an HR recruitment agency to find such a person. And we told, I think, Geeta Dang, who was heading it, that Geeta, we want you to find in these 10 categories from IT industry, corporates, professors, NRIs. In each category, you find the best of best Indians in each area and see who meets that criteria. And then we would go and look at those individuals. So that's where we found Kiran Karnik, who met that criteria with personality-wise, skills-wise, attributes-wise. There also, I remember Murli Devra, who was the cabinet minister from Bombay. He called me and said, "Arey, kaise banda tum le aaye ho?" I said, "Murli bhai, don't worry. He is short. He is a very nice, quiet person. But wait, इतने तू बैठ जा, देश का भविष्य का सवाल है." I am always available, but right now we would like somebody like Mr. Kiran Karnik to run it. Wait for 6 months. And within 3-4 months, I think the 9/11 happened. And the way Kiran took it up, we felt so good that our judgment of selecting him was the right decision. And then Murli bhai also called me and says, "Yeah, you guys are right. बहुत अच्छा बंदा ढूंढा है आप लोगों ने." So that's the, but we went through a very rigorous process of it. See, that time many other associates were ready to grab NASSCOM's role. So there was one pressure on us. But then we had person like Firoz Vandranwala of TCS. He said, "Harish, I'll go to NASSCOM office every alternate day for a few hours. So you don't worry about NASSCOM's running. We will take care of it. You guys go ahead and find the person, the best person that's required for NASSCOM to run." So like that, and we asked Azim, Murthy, Kohli, everybody, should we merge with CII or should we remain independent? Everyone said we should remain independent. So with that confidence with us, we took us a long time, but I think it ended up taking a great decision as a succession planning. And that's the process now we follow every 5 years for when we recruit the next president for NASSCOM.
Thank you. Harish bhai, thank you. I think double thank you is now being flashed. Before we end, a last note. Everybody, on a personal words, I would like to recommend strongly, go for the book. Not because I'm selling the book, guys, but it is beneficial to, and it will be beneficial to all of you. For sure, I'm very much aware about that, and the young entrepreneurs especially, because you need to know what all has gone through way back in the IT arena or probably in the technology arena, and the status that NASSCOM has today, and how it came into the picture, and how it came into the limelight that it is today, and how it came into the existence and the reverence that it is enjoying today. Thank you so much. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
I think
Thank you.
The secret sauce of NASSCOM is in this book. It's applicable to TiE. It's applicable to any other association.
Everywhere.
It is not only technology services. It's a generic model.
Generic.
Yeah. So you will see, hopefully, a lot of value add for any other industry.
Entrepreneurs per se.
Anybody, yeah.
Entrepreneurs per se.
Okay. Thank you
so
very
much.
much.
Thank you very much.